The Massacre at St. Andrew Hospital, Part 5. What was taught? The silence in this studio is heavy. We are back with the St. Andrew Hospital case, and the questions are only getting darker. Diane leans in, her eyes searching for a truth that Paul seems terrified to reveal. The tension between them is palpable. Paul, you mentioned practice. That word implies something far more calculated than a sudden mental break. What did you mean? He hesitates. His shadow looms large against the studio wall, a dark reflection of the secrets he carries from that night. The forensic details suggest a chilling level of expertise. This was not a chaotic attack. It was a masterclass in lethality. The punctures were precise, repeated, learned. Every strike was aimed at the neck and heart with surgical accuracy. Alice moved through those corridors with a terrifying efficiency. As if she were following a script she had rehearsed for years, she bypassed every security measure, avoiding resistance with a grace that only comes from extensive, professional training. Diane presses him further. Did she act alone, or was she a weapon forged by someone else's design? The realization hits. The St. Andrew Massacre wasn't an ending. For Alice, it was a graduation. As we look at her face, we have to ask, how many times had she killed before that night? The truth is out there, buried in the records of a hospital that became a training ground for a predator. He finally admits that Alice once told him the body is easy if you understand it, that people think it's strong, but it isn't, not if you know where to go. Diane's expression tightens as she asks where she would have learned something like that, and Paul's voice lowers as he repeats what Alice told him, that it was shown to her when she was younger. He doesn't say by whom, but the implication hangs there, growing heavier with each second. Diane presses harder now, asking about the man Paul mentioned, the one who watched, corrected, and shaped her. Paul's breathing changes, uneven now, as he explains that Alice described him as patient, never angry, but always present, always watching, even when she couldn't see him. Diane questions that, asking if Paul believes this man was physically there, or if Alice imagined him, and Paul's response is immediate. He was real. The words come out too fast, too certain. As Paul leans forward slightly, his composure slipping further, he explains that Alice would react to things that weren't there, turning her head as if someone had entered the room, lowering her voice suddenly, stopping mid-sentence like she had been interrupted. Diane asks if Paul ever saw this man himself, and for the first time, Paul doesn't answer right away. He swallows, then nods once. Not clearly. Diane doesn't move, waiting. I saw something, Paul continues, his voice quieter now. Once, in the hallway mirror behind her. A pause. It wasn't right. Diane presses, asking what he means, but Paul shakes his head, unable or unwilling to explain it further. He says it didn't move like a reflection should, didn't match Alice exactly, like it was delayed, or separate. The word hangs unfinished, but the meaning settles in anyway. Diane shifts, bringing the focus back to the hospital, asking Paul if that presence was there that night. Paul doesn't answer immediately, his eyes locking off camera again, longer this time, as if confirming something. When he finally speaks, his voice is low and certain. Yes. Silence. Diane asks if that's what he heard in the hallway. Those even footsteps. Paul nods slowly, explaining that Alice's movements were never perfect, but those footsteps were exact, measured, without hesitation, like something that didn't need to think before acting. Diane asks if that's who was responsible for the precision of the killings, and Paul exhales sharply. He showed her, Paul says. A pause. But he did more than that. Diane leans forward, sensing the shift again. What do you mean? Paul's hands tighten, his voice dropping lower. He corrected her. The words land harder than anything before. Diane asks what that means, and Paul finally looks at her directly, fear no longer hidden in his expression. When she made mistakes, a pause, he fixed them. Silence floods the studio, thick and suffocating, as the implication settles in that some of the deaths may not have been Alice's at all. Diane doesn't speak immediately, her composure strained for the first time as she processes what Paul is suggesting. Paul leans back slowly, his eyes drifting off camera again, his voice barely above a whisper, and he's still watching. The red live light continues to blink,